want you to ask a lot of questions as we go, so if you have questions, please don't hesitate to ask those questions. Don't go to the group, because somebody else might be thinking the same thing. So we will take a break, this housekeeping wise, around 10:15, see where we're at. So, all right. Okay, real quick, get some fun. Take out your cell phone, take out a picture, make something that makes you happy. Show a friend. Get some good thoughts in your head for a minute. Show them for a picture. Appropriate pictures aren't that good. I love that you like yourself too. But that's it. We want those good feelings going around. And just as a reminder, because that's really also why we're here, is to have good feelings brought to the children, right? Because all those kids are going home to someone who cares so much about them that they most likely have a picture of them on their phone. So we wanted to bring up those happy memories, but also like kind of tie it into, that's why we're here. It's so all about the kids. So just want to constantly keep that in mind. So what we're going to talk about today, especially with taxonomy, we're going to get into it a little bit more. Okay, so for those of you, there was a few of you who were with us last week with the wonderful Linda Foti, who like so you might recognize a couple of the activities we do today because I just like your style so much. So we can change your content. So to get us brainstorming about today in regards to taxonomy, questioning, depth of knowledge, we're going to ask you to brainstorm at your table. We're going to do a something old, something new activity, or you can call it get one, get one. So what you're going to do is at your table, you have to write down 3 things that you already know about depth of knowledge, taxonomy, and or questioning. But you have to have the exact same 3 things as the people at your table. So Megan's words have the exactly same as yours. Okay? Okay, so what we're going to do at this point is we're going to do a give one, get one activity, or we can also call it something old, something new. You're going to go around the room and just find a partner. You're going to share with them something from your give one column. Hopefully it's something that they don't already have. Now maybe worded a little bit differently, might be a similar idea, that's fine. But you want to write down something new in your get one column. And then the same thing with your partner. You want to be able to give them one of your ideas that they can write down on their sheet. Once you've exchanged your give one, get one ideas, raise your hand. That's your signal that you're free and you want to try to team up with someone else. And you keep going around until hopefully you get 3 in your get one column. Okay, everybody good to go? All right, let's do it. Someone like to share one of their, actually, you know what we're going to do? We're going to take just 90 seconds. 90 seconds, talk at your table and come up with your favorite one. And it can be from either column, but come up with what you think is your favorite one. 90 seconds, next.
All right, it looks like everybody has their one. So we're just going to go around each table. And if somebody just wants to share which one they picked as their favorite, so let's start up here. At the table. You want to pick one that like dogs with your questioning techniques help teach them to start.
Is that going to be yours?
They're picking their second best because they took their first one. Go ahead.
Alright, this is also a get one. Younger students are also able to answer higher questions. Usually like to
What is it?
Taxonomy is tiered.
Taxonomy is tiered complexity.
So far, so good. I don't know the time that it is.
Go ahead. What about you guys?
Younger children will be able to answer higher level questions.
Yes.
We have the same one.
Oh, the younger students. Okay. Do you have a second favorite or no?
The activities can be on different levels, like the taxonomy.
That was their. That's their first. So activities can be on different levels.
other two were shared, and that was the list.
That's right. Okay, that's the reason you selected that one. Product elimination. But what does that mean? What's the thought behind that, Robin?
It's showing that the students actually learn the material that they're able to apply and do it independently.
Very good, excellent. Applying it independently, right? Because the more that we have the kids being able to actually operate on their own, that's what we want to be able to take out from the classroom. Bill, that was excellent. You did a very good job with the vocabulary. Tier, student growth, that's a huge part of it. If we just complexity, if we just remain at the basic questions and we're not giving the kids a chance to show us if they could go higher. You know, we had a lot of conversation yesterday about sometimes, you have different levels of students, right? However, it is our job to provide them the chances, at least to try to demonstrate that they can go deeper with that. And if you're spending quality time giving the lower level questioning, and they have the basics, that's great. But we need to start upping the ante with them more and more. And it's hard work. It's not easy. But the way you think about your questioning can really help with the timing of it. So I'm going to let Dana go on to, ladies are going to talk about our targets for the day here.
Yes, we cannot have a scale. Okay. So first, going to focus on the three that we're really aiming for today. To, of course, articulate and speak clearly about why it's beneficial to us as teachers, to our students, using those higher order questions in the classroom, and being able to think of a way to develop higher order questions and or activities that allow us to offer opportunities for our students to deepen their understanding. So Ryan is going to look at the twos with you.
In order to get to that degree, we know we have to have the basic building blocks. It sounds like most of you can check off these boxes already. So if you want to define taxonomy, identify the purpose of using higher order questions in the classroom, and identify these two examples of how to use higher order questions in the classroom.
And when, what would be wonderful if we're feeling like a 4, hopefully, an amazing goal would be to increase our confidence as a teacher to be able to create these scaffolded opportunities where we're using techniques to help move our students progressively towards a stronger understanding of what they're learning and greater independence in what they're learning, and where we just feel more confident, to be able to develop those, whether it is just a specific question that we're working with or an overall activity. So that would be our 4.
You guys want to take a moment and look at the targets and see where you feel you are, like now as a teacher, and where you might want to be by, let's say, the end of the school year. Where you think you're going to be as you've been practicing with your students. Just take a moment and look at these, think where you are now and where you want to be. All right. So, as we are talking and presenting today and doing our activities, we're always going to have to. I want you guys to always come back to these questions to think about when we're discussing. Like, how can I engage students in higher order thinking? It's not enough just to ask them more difficult questions or scaffold questioning, but engaging them. So think about how you can engage the students. How can I scaffold students' learning so that they move from basic knowledge to deeper understanding? And how can I encourage students? So real quick, what word is at the center of every single one of those questions? Everybody. Students. So it's all about the students. So when we're having our conversations, think about those students. Those pictures in your phone, those are your kids, your niece, your nephew, your grandkids, your cousins. That's somebody has them as a student in their classroom. You want them to make sure they're engaged and they're getting their needs met. So the next couple slides, we're going to talk about all the different taxonomies that make our head want to explode because there's so many out there. We kind of highlighted the three here a lot. Marzana, clearly, that's a new name for us. We've never heard this name. Who's Bob? Who's Bob? So this is he has his own taxonomy. If you are comfortable using that and you want to use that, you're fine, you can use that. There's also Blues, which is Miss Lick's Jamie's favorite. She loves Blues. It's a little bit of a debate. I like her fun.
It's very fun.
Yeah, it's a fun one. So Blues with the triangle, and you can see like it focuses like the remember, the understanding, apply. Blooms is actually the one you're going to see the most of. Like when you do research, everything's like blooms. Okay, blooms, we get the point, you're good. So our district primarily uses the circle, webs, DOK. So a couple of our activities are going to be going back to DOK, the wheel of wonder. So this is where we're going to be doing a lot of the focus on, since that's kind of what the district has adopted with, writing our scales. We have that webs.
Lori, can you just share that with everybody? We've had a lot of conversation about that. There's, you hear taxonomy, you hear depth of knowledge, go ahead.
What we're just saying? Oh, we were talking just a few minutes ago about, before we began the workshop, what exactly taxonomy is and how web's depth of knowledge fits into that understanding or that paradigm. And really, I guess technically, the DOK web that we love and it's, user-friendly for us is not technically taxonomy. It's more of just a structure or a way of thinking about, what level we're in. Whereas if you look at Blooms, you can actually see the taxonomy. This is more in my brain that it's DOK. Although it's useful for us, it's another way to structure it. But when you're technically looking for taxonomy, I think you would look more towards Blooms.
Yep, and they each have the same premise though, which is moving our kids.
Yeah, they have that same idea of, you're at your level 1 or level 2, or whether you're looking at, when you look at Blooms, I think Blooms is giving you a more deeper understanding of, you're either remembering, understanding, now you're beginning to apply.
I think that's good for when you're planning your activities too. I think the depth of the wheel is when you're looking for those verbs.
Yes, yes.
All right, so we're going to watch a video on web depth of knowledge. It is a little bit of a lengthier video, so if you guys need to take notes, because we are going to talk a little bit about the video after it's done being played. Things to think about is the deeper understanding, the types of questions, the taxonomy that Wes is discussing. So.
Web's depth of knowledge. So, why should teachers use Web's depth of knowledge? The bar for student achievement continues to be raised and requires rigorous instruction. It helps to increase student achievement. For example, you may learn about soccer by simply watching a game. However, you would not have the mastery that a coach would have. Teachers should aim for absolute mastery of understanding when it comes to their students. For students to achieve in schools today, they need to fully understand. So, what is Webb's depth? Depth of understanding requires basic knowledge, conceptual understandings, integration, and evaluation. Depth of knowledge can be defined as complexity of thinking. Now, what depth of knowledge should not be confused with is difficulty, which may vary from person to person. Webb's, on the other hand, focuses on the kind of thinking required, not the difficulty. Different parts of the brain are used for different methods of thinking. Now, when should educators use Webb's depth of knowledge? A common misconception is that Webb's is not meant for lower grade levels. But Webb's depth of knowledge can be incorporated into the classroom at any grade level. It can be used by a kindergarten teacher just the same as it can be used by a 12th grade teacher. Webb's depth of knowledge should be considered when assigning tasks or activities for your students. A test should be built on various levels of Webb's depth of knowledge.
That's something we're continuing to work on, revisiting our.
Webb's depth of knowledge is broken down into 4 different levels. Each level representing a different complexity of cognition. You have level 1, level 2, level 3, and level 4. Now, let's explore level 1. Recall and reproduction. The first example of recall and reproduction would be to identify the steps in the water cycle. Students may simply fill in a worksheet on the steps. The next example is having students recognize the definitions of various terms. So imagine students completing matching item questions. Plugging in numbers to solve an equation is another example. Say they plug in mass and acceleration simply to find the force. Lastly, for level 1, maybe simply list examples of protists. All that really requires is being able to reproduce the names of the protists. Level 2, skills and concepts. So the first example would be maybe analyzing the cause and effects of weapons advancement. How did tanks impact World War II, for example? The next example would be maybe to compare viruses to living organisms. Are viruses living organisms? What do they have in common? What is similar? What is different? Combine concepts to solve multiple step problems. Think, for example, maybe an area problem where you have to take the areas of various different objects. Lastly, for level 2, summarize the evolutionary theory. Students have to think and recognize all the concepts that are associated with the theory of evolution. Level 3, strategic thinking. Argue using evidence that is cited. You would want your students to cite the evidence as they perhaps debate or have classroom arguments. Next, hypothesize the next steps in an experiment, where students have to strategically think. Another example would perhaps be explain how parts of a mechanism work as a whole, where students have to imagine how each individual part has an effect on all other parts. And the last example, create scientific models to explain a concept. Students there have to project ideas into visuals. And the last level, level 4, which is extended thinking. And the first example will be creating a nutritional video on the best choices for healthy living. This is a project where students have to create and combine a number of different skills. Next up, make connections across different content and subject. This will relate to cross-curricular instruction, integrating different subjects such as math and social studies. Have students submit an article for a local newspaper, but it doesn't have to be a local newspaper. Perhaps it could just be the school's newspaper. And lastly, design a scientific experiment to be carried out and tested. And this last example really combines a number of different levels. So right now, I would like to say thank you for your time. Please like, please share, and please subscribe to this channel.
We are going to be sharing this with you afterwards too, so you can review that again. It was kind of a lot of information for time purposes. But I'd like to see that there was several times, I don't know if this jumped out to anybody else, but there's a few examples where the same verb was used, but it was considered a different taxonomy level. We're going to talk about that a little bit more, but that was one big thing. Okay, let's go there.
Just the part where, because I know Ryan and I had this conversation, that every assessment should involve all levels or multiple levels of taxonomy or sort of depth of knowledge in the assessment. I always go back to the question of how do you assess that fairly for all kids, like for kids who are at those different levels of understanding to get, you know, my mind would have to shift from, all right, how many did they get right out of how many total questions versus like what type of question was that? And I think that would be a huge conversation that would have to take place among the whole district.
It absolutely is, and it's not a simple conversation at all. And Ryan, we were talking in the group yesterday about those kinds of conversations and how they are healthy, good conversations, but they are not easy, and you don't always agree, and that's okay, because you're still talking about really important work. And when it comes to the assessment piece, you have to use the judgment of how many questions, keeping in mind more doesn't actually equal more difficult, right? So we're just, well, we want to beef up this assessment, so we're going to add 15 more questions. That's not going to give the kids more chances to possibly show their true understanding. As a teacher, you also have to use your judgment as you're going through creating the assessments. Maybe there are 3 or 4 questions that are at the level 4, the level 3. Knowing your kids, okay, if I have a student who I know has really been struggling at a level 2, I may try one assessment question with them that's a 3 to see how they do, and if it's like we're in tears or punched up, stop, just stop. That's okay. Because the beauty that we did shift to the standards-based grading, and it is more difficult because it takes a lot of thought, but you're looking for those evidence pieces of what the kid can actually do. Another piece of that conversation is the data analysis. It's not just the data of they got 20 out of 30. You're really looking at the level of questioning that went along and how it aligns with the standard. That's the most important information you're getting from the assessment that's going to show you where a child is. Again, difficult conversations to have among your grade levels, but good conversations, because it's all on the same point about, are we presenting enough options for the kids to get them moving forward? So, and I wouldn't hold off on a child. I wouldn't not give them any of the other questions, but at least try 1 or 2, see how they do. Maybe then I would think too, like, is this a very wordy question? And that's where my kids struggling with this? Or can they have manipulatives? Can they show me in a different way? Would they rather draw me something to help their explanation? Get into those pieces too. The thing with the curriculum, and in talking with one of my teachers last year, at least I'm 20, we always have this conversation of, so we are just naturally driven to be like, I love checking things off my list. I love checking things off my list. Curriculum and the assessments, they're not something that are going to get this huge check mark at some point. They're done. We're constantly going back and revisiting them. So I do think it's excellent conversation, and it's difficult work, but that's the conversations we need to have that are really important. And they take time. When Dana mentioned earlier, start thinking about the targets. What do they mean to you? This isn't going to happen overnight. This may not happen over the next year. But set yourself small goals for the year to say, you know what, each marking period, I want to try to implement 5 really great lessons and activities that I know are going to have my kids go to that deeper. Start there. That's okay. As the grade level, start looking at one assessment. Do we have enough of the level questions? Are we giving the kids enough? Start small. That's fine. It's going to be built over time. But the fact that that's where we're at, with where our focus is and where the conversation is phenomenal, and we should be really proud of that.
Yeah, and to piggyback off of what Jamie was saying, like I remember sitting a few years ago in a training where, you know, we're and I know it's not like this too, it's that checking off the list, is, I have to get to X, Y, and Z in my pacing guide by this date. So you're pushing. And I'll never forget, I think it was not to bring up the M word again, but Marzano, one of the trainers said that, oh, I know, this teaching's so hard. We're always too busy teaching that we don't have time for these students to learn. So,
Whoever said
I kind of at first I was like, what? And I did what you did. And then I thought about it. We're too busy teaching, so we don't have time to get the students to learn. And I do this, I'm guilty of this too. We're too busy, I have to get to this, I have to get to this, I have to get to this, I have to get to this. And then you have that one kid who's still, I don't love one taxonomy, they're still not able to, pull out the text-based information out of the story. So how do you expect them to move to level 2 and start doing main idea and supporting details? How do you expect them to then write a book report where at level 3 they're having to pull, a book report I have to, I have to be able to pull this, and I have to be able to pull this, we're too busy teaching, so we don't have time to have the students learn. And that stuck with me these last couple of years. So it's almost like taking a step back. It's okay. And that was also RTI. Okay, let's take a step back. Majority of the kids did not get this. Maybe I need to drop it down. Maybe we need to review some of the vocab. Maybe we need to review some. So that was something that really I wanted to share. And that was interesting.
And it kind of ties in with teaching when we talk about higher level thinking is what the kids do, right? Higher level thinking is what you're doing as a teacher when you're having those moments going, this is not working. Why is this not working? Why are we not at the reading level we're supposed to be? Is it because Johnny can't read the words per minute that he should? Okay, so it's a fluency issue. Why does Johnny have issues with fluency? Well, Johnny's not reading every night at home like he's supposed to be. Okay, well, why is Johnny not doing that? Well, mom's single and and you keep asking those why questions until you get to something that you say, you know what, here's something we can put in place that's actionable, that's going to help this kid with that specific thing. That is high-level thinking from a teacher's perspective. Keep asking the why questions and coming back to how can I put something into action to help solve this specific thing. Does that kind of make sense? It's hard thinking.
And as a parent, you can't say because I said so.
Right.
Because I said so.
So, very good. That's an excellent question. Thank you.
Do you guys want to share anything you guys pointed out in the video that you noticed, that you saw, that stuck out to you? Anybody want to share anything?
Kind of like the same thing that some of the things they were saying are level 2, depending on what the standard is, could be your level 3.
Depending on what the standard is, depending on what the grade level is.
I don't know if this is going to be something that we're going to know, but I was kind of hoping in the video that they would take that initial level 1 and stick with that same topic and bring it to a level 2. And then a level 3 and a level 4. This way we can kind of see, okay, same topic, how could I
How do you
do this
evolve?
as a level 2? How could I, like for those students, to differentiate the instruction or, just differentiate the evaluation.
There is a document I found that I did put in the end slide that says we have links to references, like where we pull the last up. And the last one I actually just added it because it was, God forbid we sleep. And I found it. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's great. And it's a big packet. And it basically takes you through. Here's Webb's level 1. And then it goes through and it shows you the verbs, which we're always used to seeing. But then it goes through possible activities. Then it goes through how that relates to lesson plans and targets within math and science or history and social studies and ELA. Then if you look at it, it doesn't necessarily do what you're saying, strikes one, but you start to see a pattern where you're like, okay, well in math I do this first. I have to do basic computation. Then we can get to, two-step problems. Then we can get to, it kind of grows, which was pretty interesting. So it's something, it might be an interesting look, to print out. And it's actually, I like it because it's like graphs. It's not something I have to read paragraphs. It's in there's a reference at the bottom.
We're going to share a little bit more later today too, and you're going to have some chances to create your own also. And this is one of the main topics Dana and I have talked about as the optional PD for after school this year.
this specific thing. You need times where you come and we're going to share one or two examples, but then you have like a work session time, and we're checking in with you as to what you got going on. So something that you can then take back, and there's two hooks to that. One, you begin to become more and more comfortable with your own taxonomy, depth of knowledge. Two, you're then willing to share it with your teammates. You spend all this quality time creating something, go back, share the love, it's good stuff.
I'd like even as a PLC, or I don't know if PLCs are kind of already thought out for the year, like
There are
direction
thoughts,
that they're going to go.
they're not finalized yet. I know exactly what
But
you're
like
saying.
even as like, you know, your subject matter, and then kind of get into that.
Yep. So it's one of the topics we're discussing. I'm working with you there. So, all right, do you want to go into the skill verbs?
All right.
Very busy.
Okay, so the other thing I thought was really good to share is when we had, in last year when we had those half-day grade level meetings that we all met, do you guys remember those? I know everybody's trying to blur out last school year. So I shared a document that was Marzano's 9 question stems, and like it gives all these, this is Webb's version of that. So all it basically shows you, it's kind of puts it out there where, okay, here's the vocabulary, or the verb, yeah, the vocabulary you might find, the verbs. Then it gives you questions you would ask at that level 1. So when you're pulling your small group of students, how can you show? When did blah happen? Can you list 3 blah? Okay? But then it goes a step further and it gives tasks or products you would want to see out of a student at level 1. Retell a story in your own words. Draw pictures to explain what an event was about. I like this reference to be able, in case I'm wondering, what level of taxonomy is this? Because believe it or not, as we were researching this, at least for me, I don't know for you guys, but for me, as I was researching for this presentation, all of a sudden I'm finding things and I'm going, oh, that's level 3? I would have thought that was level 4, that was level 1. And I was so stuck on the verb, and that's because that's what we were trained to do. You know, we were, you know, I think Scott mentioned it on Tuesdays. If you guys read Scott's the target scales and Sylvia's presentation.
And
Ashley. Sorry. And Ashley's presentation on Tuesday. If he mentioned something, and now I lost my train of thought. I don't remember what he mentioned. I remember him talking about, you know, we were so, the last couple of years was like, all right, let's get this done. So we were so stuck on the verbs. Now we're getting to that point. Okay, let's take a step back. We know the word identify relates to level 1. Now we're going the steps further. Now, what kinds of questions should I be asking the students? What kinds of questions should I hear the students be asking each other? So these next couple slides, I'm not going to dwell on these because we're sharing this presentation, but it's the same thing. Level 2, same concept. Level 3.
What's the second
This one.
column's topic?
yeah.
So this is vocabulary. This is showing you the types of questions you might ask at that level of taxonomy. This is the tasks or products you
Oh,
would
maybe like the evidence that that's.
So what can you do? Right about in relationship to blah. That would be like, what is the actual activity expected to show you? To show you that's level 3. And level 4. Okay? So this is something when you get the PowerPoint, you'll be able to look at these. I thought this was a good reference. All right.
Okay, so now you've been saying for a little while, so we're going to catch up. So we're going to do a folder activity. Where are note cards? Okay, so we're going to pass some things out. Here's how this is going to work. You're going to be paired up with someone, not at your table. You're going to walk around at the bookcases back here. There are 9 folders. Each folder has, so for each pair, they need to serve one. Okay. I got it. So you're going to walk around the partner. You're going to read the folder. It has a grade level and it has a task. You're going to identify the level, the depth of knowledge that you think that task is at based on the grade level. Between you and your partner, you're going to write the level that you believe the task is on your note card, place it in the folder. You also have your own individual sheet so you can walk around. So as you find the folders and you decide what you think taxonomy level it is or depth of knowledge level it is, excuse me, you're going to put that number in the column. So that's for your own reference when you get back to your table. Okay, so the first, again, to re-clarify, we're going to pair you up. You're going to walk around with your pairs to the folders. Bring your worksheet also. Between your pair, you're going to determine the depth of knowledge level. Write that on one note card and put it in the folder. Record your own answer on your worksheet. Once you've gotten all 9 of the folders, you can return to your table. So if you have a birthday in, just bring a bunch of your note cards. You only need 1 per your pair though when you go into the folder.
Oh, gotcha.
Raise your hand if your birthday's in January. There we go. All right, keep your hand up, Jen. All right, raise your hand, birthday's in February. Okay, you two are partners. In a moment, hold on, let's power it up first. March. April. May. All right, so we'll put Wendy and Ashley. We're in June, July, August, September, October, November, December. So, all right, so Jen, why don't you go with Tracy? And I'll let you go with Jen. Okay, everybody understand? Okay, cool. No cards on your individual.
Good luck. One, right? And it's only one
So I would think this, even though it's that was the depth of knowledge.
What do we use this for?
All right, so we're going to need just about 2 minutes. Now share out the people at your table. What you came up with your partner. See if they match up. Talk about why not. Conversation going on, and I want it to be shared amongst the group. So I'm kind of going to hone in on a few different things that we heard, and I want you all to jump in as well. But I'm going to start up here. We're not just going to go, because of different things I heard, I'm going to kind of jump around a little bit. But Ash's table, can you please share what you were discussing for the kindergarten example? Because this was great conversation.
Well, we all had something different. We had 1, 2, and 3.
So we same here.
Which is very interesting. But I was thinking it being a 1. I mean, they always say I'm a tough kindergarten teacher. Sure. You guys, you would go first. But I was thinking, even though there is, and they are making a connection between 2 different things, and we did talk about that, I thought the act of just drawing and labeling something and it being beginning, middle, and end, I don't think that's hard for them to do, because I've had to do that with books and different things, even though, yeah, they did it with a book, and now they're doing it with a field trip, but I also thought, well, like, the field trip is fun, they're all gonna remember that. So that was my thinking of putting it as a 1.
I thought it was a 3 because it was taking information that you already taught them with something else instead of just using it, applying it to that specific activity. We were asking them to then take their knowledge, but they already had, and then apply it to something completely different and create something that way. So that's why I thought it was a step up.
Now, different opinions. Was that healthy conversation?
Yes.
Yes. Amanda's more correct. Because, and even this, and we talk this about, like, I just say that word correct. Sometimes it's still in the gray area. But the idea for kindergarten students, they're taking something that they're being taught. It's been modeled, they've practiced it, but now they have to go try and apply it independently to something completely unrelated. So therefore, they are applying this knowledge, so it would be more of a 3. You know? So that's
what time of year is it?
What time?
Correct.
I'm very, very glad that you brought that up. So what time of year is it? She just mentioned. What time of year is possible? So, but think about, so here's where I want to say something with the time of year part of this, okay? It doesn't necessarily change the depth of knowledge that it's requiring, but perhaps it's how we're structuring the activity for the kids. Maybe, they're not just going to be able to draw parts of the field trip. We do have to hand them little cutouts and let them figure out which ones. So now they're still applying the skill in a different way, so it's more towards the 3, even if it is towards the beginning of the year. I'm really glad you brought that up, because sometimes we kind of say that, and we get it, right? Come back from the summer, you're coming back from the summer, everyone's a little overwhelmed, you're like, it's September, I don't know where you're expecting to go, these kids are, all right, take a breath. We still expect to, yes, you have to lay your groundwork, you have to lay your routines. No one's going to expect to walk into the classroom week 2 or 3 and like, oh my gosh, look at all this level 4 questioning happening. No. However, I don't want us to sell ourselves short either. That it's by the end of September we could be trying some things, let them try. So I'm glad that you brought that up. You guys want to talk about the 6th grade example with Darth Vader?
Allegra and I were going back and forth on this one because, so the 6th grade one that says define what is evil about Darth Vader, write an original song and describe your feelings. So we were originally saying it was like a 1, then we thought maybe we were like over analyzing it, so then we changed it to a 4, and then we went back to a 1. So ultimately, all they have to be able to do is define what is evil about Darth Vader. It doesn't make it a 4 just because they have to write a song about it.
I took it as, yes, they have to define what evil is, but then they have to apply it to themselves and about their own evil is, and write a song to describe that.
And you're going across curriculums for some of us, music and songs.
So I'm loving this. This is so hitting the nail on so many things we've talked about. Okay, so you have different verbs. You have a grade level. It's up in 6th grade. You have a different content. Going back to it, I'm going to give my opinion. So what I pulled this from, they define it as a 1. Because you're simply defining characteristics. So if I said, Darth Vader's a big scary guy, no one likes him, I don't like him, he's mean. Well, okay, I just invented an original song. Like, yeah, not necessarily. But I think this could play more into conversation of if you're really asking kids to pull in their own, are they bringing in an experience they had? Well, my friend has a dad, and he's not always too nice either. I don't like him, and now I'm thinking about that. So now I'm applying a little bit. Maybe I'm increasing the depth of knowledge. This was a great example because this is where I don't want us getting hung up on right or wrong, right or wrong. Am I thinking about is it asking the kids to apply?
Something there I know about Darth Vader. I used to be very into Star Wars. And loving to teach literature, I think it's so important to teach complexity of characters and character evolution, because Darth Vader isn't just, he's not just a straight slate. There's levels to his complexity. So, the song incorporates his different levels of his character and the character evolution that he does show throughout Star Wars, especially with his relationship with his son, which is complex. You have to watch the whole thing. And that's incorporated into the song. Then I think we're going above that.
What your students may see, you're like, I meant this as a 1, but wow, I can really take this kid to the next level.
It just drew out more and more kids than we thought we could do.
So they end up kind of generating
Yeah.
the 1, 2, 3, 4. Because that would almost be something that you would sit with all of them and be like, okay, well, this is more of it was a 1 in their depth of knowledge. But
Right.
this one really.
It would be the way the students interpret it. And I think it goes back to the purpose. So let's say a teacher's like, I kind of want to do this for fun. Like, it's actually kind of like an icebreaker thing to me. So I'm just going to use it as a little icebreaker. But as they're going around and listening, they're like, wow, like they're going into different levels. And now I'm going to share that out loud to the class and model different levels of thinking. Or perhaps they did take some more time and was a purposely planned activity that had what word was she speaking to without saying the word, scaffolded
kindergarten to 6th grade, and at high school, college. Oh, what do I have to do? How many pages does this have to be? How many words does this have to be? What questions do I have to answer? Do we have an outline? If you start to give them those things, you're starting to define their taxonomy. But you don't, and then you're going to have those above level learners that aren't going to grow because they want to follow the rules and they want to just do, oh, the teacher gave me this outline, I follow this outline, exactly. So by not giving that, just laying it out, write a song about Darth Vader. You're going to have Lori, then you're going to have me, and we're going to be 1 and 4. So, it's going to be something interesting to see from the kids, like the different levels that they
So can you work backwards like that and actually score them like that?
Yes, you absolutely can. So I was gonna say, think of it that way. What if you did something, you're like, I meant this to be like a simple little task, and oh my gosh, the stuff that got on my kids, man, not only am I banking that, so maybe I can use it now next year, or something similar, a little in a few months. I'm also gonna go share that with my colleagues, because guys, I posed this question that I thought was just like fun and simple, and oh my goodness, the responses I got out of them, and then maybe it even leads to something else you're gonna do the next day. Maybe it influences your planning for the following day, and that is really strong teaching. So you see what I mean? Like that these are really messy, good stuff. There's another group I want to talk about. Who would like to talk about the first one? Devastating. Can you talk about? Well, okay. So take out the words "can you."
And it's funny because teaching 4th grade, I would have students would say yes. Miss Rose, I'm done. No, Miss Rose, I'm done. Like with can you, a lot of times they're very literal. So if you take out the can you and invent, if you're just saying can invent another character, then you're kind of like probably looking at your 3 because, then you're taking a lot of, synthesis about different probably like stories, and different characters and adding to what is already established.
So here's where, this is one I wish I had put the book next to it. Because here's why. Because this is preschool, it could probably dabble into the 2 at the most. But as the grades go, because the book is so literal in that it's a brown bird or red something, there's not much thought that goes into it. Invent another character for this book. Pick a color, pick an animal, and I'm done.
But then I think of, in being a writer, we all done scrambles, where you have to pick, what is it, 2 animals and put it together. How hard is that for some kids? Like, you're like, just pick 2 animals.
They live in different environments. I know you guys have higher. So see what I mean? So even though we don't want to deny our youngest learners either, you put up this and say, invent your own character for this book, and tell me about the habitat they're in living in. Now we just went. Nicole's table, pick one. Anyone you'd like to share out?
We're thinking.
Disagreeing on 4th grade editorial? Okay.
So, 5th grade board. Because I looked at it from that video where it said, like, submit an article for a newspaper, those types of things were level 4. So you're taking what you've learned and writing your opinion about the advantages, like everything you've learned. Well, I guess I don't know if they've learned the kind of reading probably, but.
I think from that video too, the strategic thinking where it was talking about taking an argument and using your ideas.
And it's funny, when we first did this, even Dana and I were disagreeing. The one I pulled her from, it was a 4. And it went to, well, because they needed to come, right? But you're taking these, and it seems like such a simple thing. Advantages, disadvantages of having a baby brother. I like him. Okay, so now we're not at 4. But what do you like about him? Why? What's this? How does this impact you? How does this impact mom? How does it, if you start drawing more and more out of them, and then they also have to take it, formulate it into their own words, strategize how they're going to present it, almost like they're trying to persuade someone, then you can increase the levels to the 3 and 4. Now, I think also grade level would play something to do with this. You're giving this to a kindergarten? Yeah, we're going 4. because they're really putting a lot of thinking together. An 8th grader, you probably gave more 2, maybe 3, because they're still arguing, but they don't have to go as much into the depth of knowledge where they are with the background knowledge. Does that make sense? Okay, so I'm going to go through the rest of these. And then okay, so I'm just going to touch on them. So we had going over preschool. 5th grade, where the one I found it from, and I think there could be a great conversation about this. Do you think Harry Potter was a loyal friend? Why or why not? Write an answer, explain your answer. That was a set of 3. Yes. 2nd grade, construct a mobile or draw a collage about dog hair and grooming was listed at the 2. Okay, because even though, again, so here's that fun verb. We hear construct. That's like create, that's like invent. It's not though. They're taking basic things and kind of just putting them together. 4th grade, 6th grade, 3rd grade, describe 3 characteristics of metamorphic rocks is a 1. Straight facts. 1st grade, which movie? It was at the 4. And then again, I think that could definitely be a great conversation. And 4th grade, create a polygon in the same area as these 3 polygons was listed at the 3. So you're taking some background knowledge and you have to, apply it. You're not creating something totally scratch. Okay. Dane's going to take it away. We're going to do a little movement activity again. Keep you engaged and keep focusing on our target of trying to define taxonomy and definition.
So we're going to do again another Linda Food activity, quiz trade. A lot of people really like this from the DI trainings last week. So basically what you do is you get a card. One side obviously has words, the other side has a DOK level. You're going to get up, you're going to go up to a partner, and they're going to read it, and they're going to say, I think this is DOK level 1. Retell a story in your own words. So I think this is, and then you kind of just go like this, you go quiz, then the other person, you read the other person's card, quiz, trade cards, go to another partner, and it's quick.
Yeah, they're not elaborating on right. If they're right, make sure you tell them, great job. Yeah.
Yeah.
If they were not right, you're like, good job.
Yeah.
That's it. And then you move on. We're not going into this conversation more.
So one thing I thought that was interesting when doing this activity, when prepping this activity, is a couple things I thought was interesting. First, planning out DOK levels 1 and 2. You're like, oh yeah, recount, that. And then you get to level 3 and 4, and you're like, so you have to start thinking about it. Another thing I found interesting is there was a couple that were level 4 that all of a sudden I went, oh my gosh, like as an ACES teacher, my thought was one of the biggest things I thought was interesting was that a couple level 4 activities, we always say this. Well, as an ACES, I've said it as an ACES teacher, we go, well, they do it in ACES, but they're not doing it in the classroom. Why aren't they doing it in the classroom? It's an application, that's a level 4. They have to take a skill, apply it by themselves in the classroom. It's not even, yeah, I mean, that's what I'm independent, but they're not like, what they just did, we just practiced main idea and details. Why can't they do it on this story? It's that now I've got to take the skill and apply it to something else. Another thing that we do a lot of is writing. Oh, but they know how to spell friend. But why can't they spell it in their writing? You've taught it in isolation. Now we're going to teach it in context. So there was a couple in here that you might be like, wait, what? So I just wanted to point that out. So everybody's going to get a card, and then you're going to start walking around, quizzing each other. I mixed it up. I've done some math, some science, some social studies, some ELA, and they're very general activities. They're not as specific like the folder activity. They're very general. So things that everybody might do in their classroom. You guys all have. That actually surprised me as you were doing this. Like, were there the ones that you were like, wait, what?
They're donating stuff.
Subject is that, like, if it's like, science experiments, like, are you like science? At least, what area you should grab it. So sometimes it's a little hard because you get the whole concept.
Exactly. These are very general, and that's why I wanted, because they could be applied in any.
Once you've had parameters, they define them.
And it's about, do you want to limit that, or do you want that?
But you don't want to
extend him to be able to finish his projects over summer. And he keeps emailing me questions, and he keeps going, "Well, what do you want me to do? What do you want from this?" And I keep going, "Follow the arrow." But what do you expect? And I want to like be like, well, this is what I'm looking for. Like, I'm not looking for anything specific. I'm looking to make sure he understands, like, how to look at a lesson plan and determine, the support based on assessment data is what they have to do.
Is this college?
It's the college level, and he's continuing to be like, well, are these standards okay? Can I have 3 standards? Should I have 1? It's the same. It doesn't matter how old you are. We always want to go to that level of putting parameters on things. But yes, that's why I went with the physical straight, keeping it very general. Because then you're like, oh well, I think it's a 1. Some were clear, like, oh, it's all basic. That's 1. But then I know we were talking the algorithms, where it's like, use a formula or formula with variables, and it's like, oh, well, I think it's a 2 or 3, and it turns out to 1. You're like, what?
But you just plug in, you know where to put those numbers. Like a simple 5 + 5 is 10. Then if you want to do right, I mean that one's easy because it doesn't matter. But you have to know which number is which letter.
But it's still, you're just really given that information, so it's still retrieved.
Yeah.
That's why it's still that's going to need some.
Yeah.
The same, but.
And I also noticed what I thought was interesting was, like a 6th grade ELA, they might look at a kindergarten thing, they might look at it and think, oh, that's something, it's a 1, and then directed 2. Or like you're teaching 3rd grade, you don't teach the variables yet.
Right.
So then where a 6th grade teacher would be like, okay, it's 1, or you would because you're thinking for your own students that you are.
So, going back, I just wanted to highlight again that this is tricky work. This is hard work. But this is the important work. This is the work that's going to get your students to reach their maximum potential, and that's what we really want for them. But it's hard. You hear the conversations that we're having right now, and I just want to highlight, if you have a same verb, it can still be a different level. Okay, so just real quick, these are 3 examples. Describe 3 characteristics of a metamorphic rock. So you're just recalling simple information. Same verb. Describe the difference between metamorphic and igneous rocks. Requires cognitive processing to determine the differences in the 2. So now we're getting a little bit more. Describe a model that you might use to represent the relationship that exists within a rock cycle. So now the kids are describing, because you're not asking them to actually get the materials, you're not actually asking them to build it. They're just describing what they think something could look like. So you have the same verb, 3 different levels. I think, Wendy, that's what you were talking about a little bit more. I've always said we want to get more into it for the school year and where that focus is. But do we see how that's why this isn't concrete, black and white, super simple? Hey, curriculum officers, just give us the answers so we can, no. It's not. It has to come be a team effort and generate review.
I think too, like with the parents, with report cards and things like that, like so much of this comes into play during classroom lessons and feedback from students and things like that, that they want more of a number. It's going to describe your child, and that I think, this is our 3rd or 4th year of standards based, so it's like, I think we're getting more grasp in it, and it is tough because I think a lot of parents don't necessarily want to embrace it. So, and I love to see parents, be introduced to things like this if they show up.
But let's also think about that. Let's really think about that time. Because for us, we feel like it's like, oh my gosh, we got this. 4 years?
Yeah.
Grand scheme of time. 4 years.
Yeah.
It's so minimal.
Yeah.
It really is. So we have certainly come leaps and bounds from where we felt like our conversations were 4 years ago. It's so minimal. So it's going to continue to be a work in process, and it's going to continue to be a work in process for the parents as well. Because it's a lot. And let's, for those of us who are parents, let's call this spade here for a minute. We're like exhausted all the time. So sometimes, I mean,
I don't, and sometimes it's easy for us to become discouraged,
Right.
right? It's just human nature. You're like, oh, I'm doing all this, and there's,
Right, I just said
that's no human thing, but that's why
There's
it's
no
not
easy
It's
answer.
not easy
And
at
they
all.
try to describe.
But
it.
that's why these conversations and relying on each other, or even disagreeing with each other, being like, you know what, okay, at least we got something out of that. That's good stuff. That's really, really good stuff. So we want to continue on with that. Thanks so much for bringing up parents. That was awesome. About our targets. So again, we're really just still defining taxonomy, levels of depth. This is hard work. We have the answers today. But the fact that our mindset's going there is phenomenal. So before we dive into some more examples and stuff, we're going to show you a little video because, yes, we're talking about, right, the hot question, higher commitment. We're not saying for a second that level 1 doesn't have its time, its place, its purpose. Okay? And I really want you to hear that because I don't want anyone leaving this room and being like, we have to operate 3, 4 all the time, or no. Yes, we want you thinking about that constantly because that's what the kids deserve. But you have to have level 1 sometimes. So we're kind of going to lead into that with this.
We were talking about this when we met a couple days ago, that this is my interpretation, so I'm not saying right or wrong, just the way that works for me when I teach. I feel like what's very important is that every lesson, focused part of our day, instructionally, there should be opportunities for a level 3 and a level 4. But that, depending upon the structure of your classroom that year or that particular part of the day, not every child may be able to participate in those level 3 and level 4. But there should be opportunities. So I know through our daily 3 structures for math and daily 5, I feel that works nicely because you can always offer those opportunities, and you know which children will absolutely get to them, and you know which children that, oh, I could really kind of encourage this one today to get to this activity. You're seeing that child progressing. But I felt that once I really sorted that out in my mind, it took a lot of pressure off of me. Just as long as I had the opportunities available at the level 3, level 4, but I knew that not every child would, and maybe there are times when you can do it as a whole group, and it's, be a challenge for some, but just that the opportunities are always there. That's the way I interpret
You ready to go?
Yes, please, let's go.
I'm in the mood for a cheeseburger.
No, we gotta go to the soup place.
What soup place?
There's a soup stand. Kramer's been going there. He's always raving. I finally got a chance to go there the other day, and I tell you this, you will be stunned.
Stunned by soup?
You can't eat this soup standing up, your knees buckle. There's only one caveat. The guy who runs the place is a little temperamental, especially about the ordering procedure. He's secretly referred to as the soup Nazi.
What happens if you don't order right?
He yells and you don't get your soup. What? Just follow the ordering procedure and you will be fine. Let's go with that. All right. As you walk in the place, move immediately to your right. The main thing is to keep the line moving.
I said, yeah, hold that to your mother, speak to me with a loud, clear voice, step to the left and receive.
Right. It's very important not to embellish on your order. No extraneous comments. No questions. No compliments.
Oh, I'm really scared.
Medium turkey chili?
Medium crab bisque.
You didn't get any bread.
Just forget it, let it go.
Excuse me, I think you forgot my bread.
Bread, $2 extra.
$2? What do you want in front of me? That's free bread.
You want bread?
Yes, please.
$3. Nothing for you.
Because it is very important to have those level 1 skills, or if you can't just recall all the information you need to, sometimes you can't get the soup you want. So we're not saying bypass them. There's definitely, they need that foundational skills to move forward. But we don't want them to be able to order the soup that they want. We want them to be able to grow, to create the soups that they want, to run the restaurant that's going to serve the soups that they want. So that's why we're going to be focusing on moving them forward. But again, part of our targets for today were leading with confidence in that understanding there is a time and place for level one. For those of you who were here last week for DI, or at any time in your classrooms, in your previous teaching, there's probably been a lesson where you put a ton of thought and effort into how to differentiate something that was brand new. So I'm going to give this brand new information and we're going to give the kids a vocabulary background. Vocabulary background, we're trying to get them just to recall, memorize. It's at the level one. But that's hugely important if they're going to be able to move forward and then apply, analyze, infer, and what have you. So I just want to put that out because, again, from the administrative level, we're walking in and you're like, yeah, okay, right now we're operating at level one, but look at the different ways that my kids are done. That's amazing. So I don't want you feeling like it's being taken away because, oh, this isn't the level 4-3. It's what's being done because it's best for the kids, and then you're going to move forward. So there's starting time and a place for the level one. You know, it's 3 to 4.
And I think it's important just to mention, because I was thinking, you know, with conversations I've heard everybody talking throughout today's presentation is just because something's a level 3 on the taxonomy doesn't necessarily mean it's a score of a 3 on a scale. Your scales, which I'm sure some of you are like, oh yeah, no. But I figured I just want to point it out just in case, but it's, so like for example, if your scale and your goal for them is to retell a story, and that in order to get a 3 on the scale to retell a story, that's a 3. It's not a 1 because it's a 1 on the taxonomy. So I just wanted to kind of like just throw that out.
That's an excellent point. It's a 1 on the taxonomy level. It's a 3 on the scale according to where you are. There is a difference.
I was going to ask that because I was kind of freaked out.
Okay.
I was the one that was.
Oh, I was thinking, I'm starting to correlate the 4, 3, 2, 1 to scale. So I started making the connection. I was like, oh, maybe I should do that.
But love that your brain's thinking that.
Yeah.
That's what
That's good,
that's what
yeah.
it is. But this is a 3 on my scale. But really, it's a level 1 activity. Okay. It's nice. That's where it is. But you are seeing that. You're using that terminology. That's like amazing stuff.
So scales and taxonomy, they go together, but they're not the same. Scales go with all of the standards.
It's progressing towards the standard. It's not necessarily progressing towards a deeper level of knowledge. I think some of the kindergarten standards, especially when you're identifying levels.
A lot of
That's the 3. That's not a 3 anymore.
So basically, taxonomy is not always going to show on your scale. Taxonomy is really showing in your lessons and in your questioning.
So the taxonomy is in the scale, but it's not matching exactly.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to go back to this, just a simple example. So for example, level 3 on a kindergarten scale is identify letters. That's not a 3 in regards to Webb's depth of knowledge. It's a 1. So it's a 1 for taxonomy, or the DOK, but it's a 3 on the scale. Okay. Going back again to conversations with parents. I'd be able to explain that, right? So I'm going, what? Like, so the scale is you're working towards and or beyond the grade level standard, but the taxonomy is going to vary.
Like Jess Clifford and I were talking about vocabulary, like doing vocabulary quizzes, and she was like, she'd ask, you know, is this something like, how should the child should we do this? Is that like it's only a level 1 scale? And the immediate response is, well, what's the scale? Like, what's the overall? Like, is it a 3 that they need to define vocabulary using a dictionary? Then yeah, there are 3. It might be a level 1 like taxonomy, but it's a 3 for like if you're talking like report card.
Yes.
Kind of thing.
So when you're talking report cards with parents, you're more so focusing on this standard. If they're hitting the standard, if they're not meeting the standard yet, and why that's okay, and what you're going to keep doing to get them to the standard. If they are beyond the standard, they may be beyond the standard, But that doesn't mean they're necessarily doing some higher order thinking all the time either. If a child can rattle off their letters, boom, 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 in October, they might get the 4 on the scale. That doesn't mean we've challenged their higher order thinking. It's like I've said my letters since I was 4, okay? You know, so you go into that. So there's that difference. But when you're thinking about parents, when you're thinking about those conversations with your curricular cards, you're focusing on the scale, the standards. Okay? If you have a parent who's saying, my kid's at the 4, what are you doing to challenge my child, to get them to move? And we talk greatly about our middle. Right now, we've had a lot of conversation because nature of the beast. Your attention goes to my struggling learners. Your attention goes to my high learners who are like, I'm done, what do you got, oh, okay. That middle group is like, I'm moving along, I'm super cute, next I do what I'm supposed to, and I'm, okay. But is their growth really meeting its maximum? That's hard. It's a time issue, we get it. But that's where we're going to keep our thinking as to, because every child does deserve that. Does this make sense? Yes.
So I'm not going to take a long time on this. I'm really just going to fly through these slides. So another thing to think about with, we talk a lot about the taxonomy. We've mentioned like types of questions, but I really want to talk about how Marzano actually delineates 4 types of questions. And the 4 types of questions don't necessarily mean, a detailed question is a level 1. This is another thing that doesn't correlate. This is more thinking like, what kind of questions are you asking your students? Or what are you expecting out of them? These slides are something, again, when you get this, you can review them. So we have, shows you detail, category, elaborating, and evidence. Like, what do you expect from the kids? So then it kind of goes into, like, what is a detailed question? It's asking questions about important details. Category questions, asking students to identify examples. We do that a lot. Where would you find that in the text? Cite evidence. Require students to make inferences. We do that a lot. That's more of an elaborating question. And identify sources and examine reasoning. So now we're like, okay, now you've used multiple sources. Where did you pull this from? Where did you get that information from? Where did you find that? So I just wanted to show you this real quick. Again, we're not there yet. We're not at this level of now I'm trying all this detail. I just wanted you guys to have this as a reference,
It's something to put in your toolbox. So when you're thinking about leveling your questions, these are just the kind of questions that you can go back to. But it's going to be, again, based on what are you asking of them? Okay, these are types of questions, but you have to choose the wording to go with the taxonomy level that you're trying to get at. So this is more of a toolbox.
And just like you were provided, like those slides with DOKs, like here's the verb, here's the question you could ask at that level, here's the product of what you might expect from the kids. We have these from Marzano too. So there's this one, which is more in depth, more for the teacher, and it also relates it to the taxonomy level, the mental process, and then it tells you terms and phrases you might use, choose from true or false, determinative false. I like products you might ask them to do. Again, more of a resource. This one I like because it's something you can give to the kids. And it's basically question steps. So say you're doing your group work, all the kids, maybe you're doing literature circles. Maybe you read a book as a whole group and you don't went down and talk about the book, but you level them. This is great to actually give them. You can say, okay, well these are my higher kids. I want them to ask more of the analysis questions. That's the kind of question I'm going to hear from them. I'm going to have them do the knowledge ones. Maybe I'm pulling this group and I'm mixing it up. So this is something I thought was good. It's a simple one-page one.
That's something good to think about when you are thinking about daily 5, right? So when you have kids going to read independently, read with a partner, what kinds of questions are you expecting from those kids? They're not going to be the same all the time. It's based on where the student is. Okay? Real quick, I just want to mention too, this is a big one. Just because a student is reading a book on a higher level than is the grade level does not necessarily mean that the taxonomy increased. Okay? So if you have a 2nd grade kid and they're like, hey, I can read independently on a piece, that's above grade level. But that's where that kid is. What questions are being asked of him or her? That's where your taxonomy comes in. So a lot of times we feel like, oh, well, clearly they're reading above grade level, so they're doing level 4 work. No, on the scale, we might be able to say, yeah, they're above the grade level standard, because they're reading above grade level for comprehension. Well, what are we doing in terms of our questioning for them with their thinking? Are the questions that we're posing to them helping them to grow? Because if they're just reading and getting the same questions as the kid who's reading on level L, we're not helping them to grow. We're not meeting them where they are. So that's a big thing. And it happens. Well, Tommy's like super smart. I'm going to give him this book. I'm going to go read over there, and I'm good because he's already above grade level. Like, Tommy's still a kid. That's someone's kid. He can't be forgotten because you're like, all right, good. Like, he's gone home. His mom's like, what'd you read today? Talk to me about it. What'd you do? Oh, I got a book and I just read it. And no one talked to me for 3 weeks because I'm super smart mom. Like, that's not okay. You know, and then it's moving along. So we have to think about each one. Again, I'll say it so many times, but stop saying it. This is hard work, but it's such valuable work. You're helping kids to move along. That's someone's heart and soul. It's awesome. So we're going to do a little video practice. It may or may not be the whole thing. I'll feel it out. As we're watching the video, so this is a classroom. Okay, we were talking before about small group, daily 5, whole group. This is a whole group example. Okay, I want you to really hone in on the questions that the teacher poses to the kids, because she scaffolds this lesson simply by the questions that she asks. They're not asked to produce anything, create anything, whatever. It's about her questioning. So we're going to watch this clip.
So after we do the small group brainstorm, I ask them to come prepared for text talk time. And text talk time is a discussion structure that I created in order to give the kids an opportunity to talk about a text that we had been reading during the week. It's an opportunity for them to call the shots and to discuss what they were thinking when they read the text. And it's also an opportunity for me to ask questions that challenge them and that I'll later expect them to respond to in writing. Before we get started, I want to go over the expectations like we do every single time. One person speaks at a time, and lately, remember, we've been kind of talking about how sometimes we get excited and we all start joining in and blurting out, and that's okay every once in a while. That happens in normal conversation, but we just remember that if I call for the zero noise signal, that we're all going to come back as a group and hear one person. Listen carefully to the speaker, right? You don't know if you're adding something if you're not listening to what someone else said, right? So you need to listen carefully. And use hand signals. So 2 fingers if you have something to add onto what somebody has already said, and thumbs up if you have something new to say. I use the strategy of hand signals in order to promote active listening. I also use hand signals to help me facilitate the conversation. Oh wow, lots of thinking. This strategy has been really effective because raising your hand wasn't enough. It gives students an opportunity to show me that they have something to say. I think she has something new to say, looks like. Okay.
I have 2 questions.
Pose them to the group.
Okay. So the first one is, what happened to the ship after they left? The ship that was going to come and they waited?
Can we go to that part? Do you know what page it said that on so we can...
Well, we heard this in the beginning there.
For the first 20 minutes of the conversation, I'm just choosing students and trying to give turns to an equal number of students from different parts of the circle. I'm this facilitator in this discussion. Natalia, you have something to add?
Also on Sacagawea, it was hard probably for her because she had her baby with her. And to go around that river and stuff, like babies, like we were talking about in our group, babies need a lot of good care. And it would be hard to go through all that, especially with a baby.
Do we have evidence that Sacagawea was with them when they crossed the falls? I don't think she was with them the whole time. Devontae, do you see where there's evidence? In the picture, it shows Sacagawea. She's pointing at the falls, and Lewis and Clark and the slave, they're like, Sacagawea is like pointing that they might die in the falls, so they probably have to go around it. And since I know that this is a narrative nonfiction, and we've been learning about how in nonfiction, the pictures and the captions, that gives us lots of information, we can probably be pretty sure that Sacagawea was with them, and that this picture is placed here to give us that information. Next, I give them questions that I expect them to write about once we're done with text talk time. Let me pose these questions to you so we can get a little bit of talking about this before I send you out to write. I'm gonna take us back to viewpoint. It's not why the author wrote, but how the author feels about something. How does the author feel about Lewis and Clark? So will you take a minute and turn and talk to the person sitting next to you about what you're thinking about this question? What do you think how do you think the author feels about Lewis and Clark? After I pose a question to the group, I give the students an opportunity to turn and talk as a way to give them a few minutes to talk and think about possible answers before they feel like they need to share that with the whole group. Who thinks they found some evidence to back up what they think about how the author feels about Lewis and Clark? Let's go to Alyssa.
It says on page 644, from St. Louis and Clark traveled to Washington, D.C., and almost every town they passed through, they brought bands to welcome them as heroes, which meant that like whenever they came in, everyone's like cheering and like congratulate them, and so like the author like puts that in to make everyone feel that they're heroes. Yeah.
Okay. So you would say that the author feels like Lewis and Clark were heroes? The next question was, what is the author's viewpoint about exploring? And I provided them with a sentence frame to start their answer. The author thinks exploring is, if you were going to fill in this sentence, how would you fill it in? The author thinks exploring is... I think it's exciting because we could find out new stuff about different things he's never knew about.
Okay, like here on 644, I noticed connecting with what you were saying, that it's exciting because you found things I'd never found before. Like on page 644, it says, the expedition returned with numerous samples of plant and animal life that had never been seen by American scientists.
Especially in those times, North America wasn't North America yet. It was called the New World. Yeah, so it was pretty interesting to them because they found new plants, new animals, new stuff they could use.
And on 641, I noticed that he said, I found a descriptor word, they emerged from the Rocky Mountains into the lovely valley of Clearwater River. If an author's using an opinion word like lovely, that's sort of showing how they feel about something. So I'm thinking that it's time to change gears. We need to get up and go back to
I was like, as she was talking, the one thing I found interesting, what was the target? Did she ever say, today's target is? No, but you knew it right away. You knew it because she kept referencing it. She kept going back to it. She kept saying, okay, how's the author feel? How do we know the author's viewpoint? So I thought that was interesting, because we were doing that for a while, and that's okay, when we were still working on these targets and these scales, and connecting back to other PDs we've done this summer, is, the Tuesday talking about targets and scales. It's not, oh, here comes somebody walking in my room, today's target is. No, it should be embedded within the lessons, it should be embedded within your, now, the last couple of years when we were learning it, yeah, we wanted to see that, but now we're shifting into, now it should just be within the
It's a really natural part of practice right now. It's natural. It's not that, and for anyone who's observing or just, checking things out, we're watching you, but maybe watching the kids too. Because if they're sitting there like, I don't know, starting to figure what they do. Like, okay, clearly we're not on the same page as to what the teacher is expecting of you right now. But if I walk in and I see that little boy was up on his knees, like all plants and stuff. He's totally engaged and he's connecting it to, oh, there's something on the border there, okay, I can see that. Like, we read the whole room too. So the fact again that we move there, that it's naturally embedded, now we're ready to start talking about and how the questions progress. Does anyone have an idea, or actually talk amongst yourselves,
so they talked about viewpoint. They went back, watched the evidence in the text. How could you have a kid walk away and have to do something that was even higher level? She said, defended the viewpoint of the author. Come up with an idea, a task. What would a kid have to do to go even further than that? Than demonstrating, because they were really just identifying, right? Using text evidence, but they're identifying the viewpoint. How do you go further than that? Talk at your tables. It's hard. Came up with raw friends. Go ahead.
It seemed like the author had a very positive viewpoint of Lewis and Clark and exploration. So maybe looking at a counter argument of what might the author have a negative opinion.
I want to play the ha song right now.
And why, why would you say that the author might feel negatively about it?
Love it. Counter argue. What's the negative viewpoint as to what they did, what they went through? Very, very good. Excellent. Action.
Yeah, so that's what we were similar to that. We were thinking, okay, this is all about the author's viewpoint. We were thinking about, okay, how does someone else work viewpoint? Thinking of American basis, that's why all the little
Oh, so another viewpoint, a third party thing. Very cool. Others? This is Megan.
We were discussing doing like a compare and contrast, like all the
Very good. Compare. So let's talk about that one for a second, because I think you go into depth with that. So you're comparing and contrasting your viewpoint with the author's viewpoint. What level do you think that is, though? Right. Sketchy. Tough one. Because usually you think compare and contrast is at the level 2, but you're really defending it, arguing it, you're saying why. But maybe you add the point as to compare and contrast, but then argue why yours is right. Level 2, compare and contrast. Level 3, start arguing why yours is right. Maybe even level 4, depending on how deep they go with it. So, very cool. Okay, I'm going to turn it over. Laura's going to share some real life examples she's been using in her room.
Before I do that, I wrote down for that activity, my thought was maybe imagine a pretend brand new discovery that Lewis and Clark and Sacagawea found. How did they react to it? And then what did they report back to the government, and what was the expectation of how this would have impacted the United States? Whatever this discovery was.
That was deep.
And again, like going back to I'll show you my daily 5 boards. Let's say I was doing a Lewis and Clark story. I'd have that somewhere on my daily 5 board, but I know not everyone's going to get to it, and nor could everybody, really absorb that and do it well.
Or would they get to it in a day?
Right. Well, and that's the thing with my daily 5 board. I like to keep it up throughout the literature cycle. So for me, it's 5 to 7 day cycle. So I'm hoping that definitely my higher kids will get to it, and then I'm hoping those middle kids will push them along, and you never know. You have the children as well. Okay, so Ryan and I just had some examples. These are 4th grade, and then Ryan's going to interject with how she would interpret it for younger students. So anyone who knows the 4th grade curriculum will recognize these stories, but these were just some ideas of different activities that I like to think about doing as I go through 4th grade line curriculum. So this quote scavenger hunt is from Linda when I went to the differentiated instruction workshop last summer. When I loved it. So you could use this for any of these texts, or you could use it for 3rd grade, 5th grade, and Ryan was going to talk about younger grades. But these are just names of 4th grade texts. These are level readers that are, these are in Unit 1. For any of these texts, they're basically problem solution, plot and sequence that you're doing. There's a lot of character in this character in the story that you can have fun with, where you would put up quotes around the room that are not identified. It's just a quote, and then the kids have to walk around and identify who said that. And it may not actually be a quote from the text. It could be you're making up quotes that would go along with that what that character might think, say, or feel. So then they have to, you have a worksheet for them where they have to prove and connect why they feel, oh, that's Princess Paulina, or that's Queen Zelda, from that particular story. So that's just an idea. Okay, come back for me, sorry. That's okay. I'll go back. This is another text. This is nonfiction, Max Axiom, where the students learn a lot about, it's narrative nonfiction, where they learn a lot about scientific concepts through this story, a lot about what inertia is. And since I've done this lesson over and over, I'm constantly going, oh, that's inertia, Layla, here, I think I'm crazy, but, so once kids learn it, it's fun, it's just anything, it's just that a force, if you apply a force to an object, it's going to continue until another force stops it. Or that if you're at rest, you're going to stay at rest until another force pushes you along. So that once they learn what inertia is from the story, they can create a demonstration of this scientific concept for the class. Again, they have to prove why that's inertia, whatever their demonstration is.
And you can do the same thing in first grade. I do the quote scavenger hunt all the time, and the kids love it. And I like it because I used to look, just to example, school class on the day the crayons quit, and I like it because I can do the identify with some students. They'll have different colors they have to find, and they have choices, and they just identify either the point of view or you could do author's purpose, whatever. And then I have other ones where it's blank, and they have to determine it on their own, and then come up with cite text evidence to prove it. So you can hit all your different levels with it.
And I just wanted to mention, so keep saying, prove it. You want this to prove it. A lot of times your prove it's really are coming through conversation, okay?
Yes.
Then we get to the point though where it's like, okay, put that down on paper. And whether it's ELA writing, social studies writing, certainly math, when it comes to having to actually put that on paper. Well, I got this answer, I know it's right, so nope. So we were at a data conference yesterday, and one of the teachers there said, we now tell our kids, show your thinking. That's the term that they use, show your thinking. So they don't just say show your answer. They say we need you to show your thinking. Because they're like, but I have it, I got it. Like, okay, well, whatever you can see in your head, that's what I need you to put down on paper. So take your time, close your eyes, really visualize it. But I just love that term, show your thinking. That's cool.
Okay, so moving on to text from Unit 2, again, the 4th grade text. Let's see, here we're working with the theme. So this is just level 3, citing evidence, where, let's say they read the Christian Comic, they read The Secret Message. They're doing, my geo is graphic organizer. They're just showing me through a graphic organizer, and I'm always pushing, you have to give me the evidence. I always do this little term with them where I tell them quote, explain. So they're quoting from the text, and then I want them to explain their quotes. And I know we all do this, but it's okay, to just focus on that citing evidence. We need to get them really doing that just naturally and just as a natural part of their response to literature. Of course, our race work. Again, you're citing evidence, comparing and contrasting the lessons learned in each text through a race question. So to me, that was pulling it up to a level 3 because not only are they comparing and contrasting the lessons learned, the theme from these two texts, but then they have to write about it and organize it into a race answer. Let's see. Teach character evolution. Write an extension of each text based on the lessons learned by each major character. So again, I might have this on my daily 5 board where a higher level student could get to this, where they're going to take one of these texts and write an extension of the text based on the lessons learned. So in The Secret Message, where there's a store owner that's keeping a parrot captive, and so of course, we learn that keeping something captive is awful. So it would be, an extension of that story where the student would take the lesson, the character has learned the lesson, and extending into what happens next in that character's life now that they've evolved and they know not to keep things captive. So again, you can do that with so many different stories that involve theme. These are poems that are in Unit 2 for 4th grade, where we're starting to teach point of view Now you can make a simile, take your simile and tell the student they have to change it into a metaphor. Or you can take the metaphor and tell the student they have to change it to a simile. So they're designing because they are working with figurative language, but transferring similes to metaphors. I liked this idea. Again, this would be something on my daily 5 board, hoping my kids will get to it. Where they are now, after we've done poetry and we've been working throughout the literature cycle, then they're going to research an animal of their choice and write a poem expressing the animal's point of view. So they have to write, let's say they're pretending they're a horse, and they have to learn about its habitat or any adaptations that the animal has. So they're going to write a poem from that horse's point of view or the dog's point of view, any animal that they choose. And of course, work with figurative language, they should include at least one simile or metaphor. So I felt that was creating level 4.
And again, you can do the same activities in the lower levels. Just take it down to your text level. I always use the rainbow fish and the baggies and stripes for a theme. And when you're at the lower levels for theme, you're getting to that point of higher level of thinking automatically. If they can get to that, if they're talking about theme, they're getting to that higher level. So you can take any activity, and I just take it, we talk about the theme, and just go off of them, see where they're at with it, and let them lead the discussion with it.
There's so many different ways to, interpret or extend your instruction. Unit 3, another example is using, there's an excerpt from the Cricket in Times Square in our Wonders in Unit 3, where you can create a point of view. Google actually needs to take that word out, it should just be Padlet, and or Google slide presentations. So you're representing your main character's points of view. So you can study their habitats, their habits, habitat, adaptations, and anatomy. I have an example here if you can click on it. Should I just click on it? Thank you.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I clicked it.
Oh no, the Padlet.
Do you want to get to the tic-tac-toe team?
Okay. Well, if you, I guess we're sharing this.
Yeah.
You just click on this at home, it'll show you like a Padlet example. Has anyone used Padlet? It's, I just tried it on my own this past year. It's really fun. It's just another piece of technology that you can use for kids to create, anything. It can be science, it can be math. I used it for math and arts.
And I know we're going to get to tic-tac-toe, so we're going to talk. But you guys did great examples for more activities that would fall into unit 4, 4th grade. And then this is an example of your daily 5 board, right? Like what you would put up for the kids and like what's expected of them. So these are things, again, we're going to share this with you. But because of time, we want to get to the,
But take time for sure to examine the Padlet thing, especially as we've been moving forward. With all our one-on-one Chromebooks going on. They're really good at things.
Yeah, if you put it on that link, there was an example of a Padlet. But it's just Padlet.com.
So we also had, if you went to Linda, you know about Taxonomy. It's basically like a short choice board you can give your students, and it gives different levels of taxonomy and activities to do. So I have one on it's 1st grade level. There's probably some kindergarten that you can do. It's the 3 little pigs and the true story of the 3 little pigs.
a rat and pig. And when they presented this, and then they dressed up, like one of them was Wilbur, one of them was Templeton, one of them was Charlotte, and they presented, they presented as Charlotte or as Wilbur. So they presented Wilbur, and he said like, I like to live in the mud. I actually do like attention. And they went through everything they learned. They put little videos. They had a ball. Heather and I did pad it together. She'll tell you there are some technical difficulty issues. She was wonderful at that. I was more like, what is going on? But it was really fun. And there must be a way to hook it up to Google where, for example, if they needed to change something, we got to the point where they had to come ask me to change it, because we don't pay for it.
It's really neat. There's so much to do. You can do category, you can do classification, you can do questions. It's picture it like it's like social media structured by teachers. You can do so much with it. You can make it put your opinions on here. What do you think? Ask a question, focus on words, so they can actually do it.
So they would get up for me and talk about, I make laughter sounds when I take care of, when I sit. There was actually we found out there's loving sides of the rat that we didn't find out. But they actually really care for their young, and so the kids were trying to, change our understanding of Templeton through their presentation.
And that's the thing, because you can vary the taxonomy level based on your learners. Some of them are just going to identify the basic character traits. Some of them are going to go a lot further, defending why Templeton is good or bad.
Right. When we talk about their complexity, then we talk about how Wonder of Charlotte's Life continues. Would Templeton ever show character evolution? Maybe he becomes the nicest character. He doesn't in the stories.
No, he does not. You were there. Thank you very much, Laura. That was excellent. So as Ryan was saying also, what we handed out for you were tic-tac-toe boards. So this is a way that you can differentiate. And one thing we took from last week that Linda kept saying was not necessarily differentiation, although that's what it is, appropriate activities, appropriate learning. I love that she used that phrase. Sometimes you hear differentiate a lot. But appropriate really struck me because we're looking at the different levels of the kids and where they are. So the tic-tac-toe boards were a neat way to present different activities that they could create, and they had to do 3 in a row. What she did, Linda, was share with us kind of the STEM verbs that she used for each of the boxes. So those are there in italics or in parentheses and bold for you. But what Ryan and Lori did was create their own based off of their grade levels and based off of different stories. So you can see an example there. So what we're going to ask you to do now is take about the next 10, 12 minutes, read these over to get some inspiration, and then think about something you've done in your classroom. Think about a lesson, an assignment, an activity, what have you. These are really good examples of assessments. Because you really can get a lot of information out of this, evidence for your parents once again. But think about something you've done. Use the back as one of them. Sorry, I don't have blanks. And just create your own tic-tac-toe board. Okay, so we're going to take about 12 minutes or so and work on that. Using structured time.
We do want to start wrapping up some appendix out here on time. We've had excellent conversation, excellent thinking going on. A lot of different cultures. Look at all the excitement. Oh, we're done. All right. So again, you know. So what we're going to ask you to do at this time, a little wrap-up activity, please. If you will, take out your cell phones. We're going to play a little Mythbusters game. Through Kahoot. I love Kahoot.
All right, so you're going to go there, Kahoot.
I like to use it.
.it, TikTok, and type in the game pen. So Kahoot.it in your web
When you're ready, raise your hand, please, give me an idea. Oh my gosh. I knew that, I knew that.
Yeah, it's fine, because the kids can do this with a nickname. So it's nice to do with the kids. And the kids can make their own free accounts and create their own ribbons to give to their friends. It's free. All right. I'm seeing all your play, but are people sharing it? They got it on. It was for following. 15. Come on, 16. All right, now here's the thing. Mythbusters. All right, we have a question. First, we're going to read them a little at above grade level. You ask them to retell key details. This is a level 4, true or false? True or false? So at first, we're going to read them a level N, which is above grade level. You ask them to retell key details. This is a level 4 on the taxonomy. False is the correct answer. Solely was the key word of that. All right, Meg's right behind her. All students should be on the same level of taxonomy at the same time. how they answered, and this is free. It's 100% free. You can do this at kindergarten. You can do this. It's similar to like what's that pop? Brain pop. Brain pop. Like, you know, there's those quizzes. Same thing, but you can make your own. So it's easy. And you can change the time, which is awesome. All right, going back to our target.
That's our target. So we're hoping that, we're just gonna ask you to take, we're at the very end, but, in all seriousness, if we could take you just 1 minute, silence, just let yourself reflect. What's something you took from today? Anything. Positive.
People are on.
Anything for the group, anyone would like to share, ask, what have you, if not, thank you enough for your time. Again, this is the work, the important work. No one will never say it's easy, will never say it's being handed to you, will never say it's being done overnight. But the fact that that's where your mindset is awesome. And what we want the conversation to keep coming back to. Okay? So we really hope that you at least took something from today to go back with, especially an increased level of confidence. You're going to have those times when you are questioning yourself. They are good questions. Again, that's you acting with your higher opinion. How do I make this appropriate for my learners? While pushing them forward, giving